Hello and welcome to the Celebration Space. My name is Kaylee Phelps and today we are talking about the best way to ask for donations. So as you may know or you may not know, my career got started in nonprofit event fundraising. Nonprofits are very close to my heart and very important to me. And I have seen a donation moment, a call to action, any of what you want to call it, where you are asking for donations, the good, the bad, and the ugly from over 100 organizations that I've worked with. So I want to talk about this because while we are in a socio-political health crisis, lots of things going on in the world, there are nonprofits that still need to be making money to be able to support their vulnerable communities that everyone's affected by the global health crisis, but definitely it could have varying levels. And also with a recession, with any kind of economic issues, there's definitely going to be a decrease in donations as well and the amount of free spending that people can have. So that's something that I want to just talk about, the best ways to ask for donations. This is primarily for nonprofits, but I think also if you are supporting a nonprofit in a way that you are close to someone, or you have an organization that's close to your heart, or maybe you're a small business that is working to help support a nonprofit or a fundraiser or even an individual that needs some form of assistance, these are 3 strategies that I really think will help you to be able to make the most money and receive the most donations. So I have 3 tips and tricks for the best way to ask for donations, and that is transparency, specificity, and engagement. So we'll dive into each of those, but I want to start with transparency because I graduated college in 2015, and in 2016 there were a lot of scandals as I was starting my career in the nonprofit world about different charities who had had scandals. 2016 seemed to be the year. If you Google charity scandals, 2016 pops up all over the place. There are, I believe, much more nonprofits and charities that are reputable and do incredible life-changing work than ones that don't. But because that is in our recent history, transparency is something that I often encourage, just being really clear about the people that you're helping, what your overhead costs might be, and if they are already covered, if you can cover overhead costs with some of your larger donations. So if you already know that you have someone that gives $10,000 every single year, that you can put those directly toward overhead costs, so that when you are asking for donations, as much as possible, asking for straight donations to whatever cause or organization or population that you are supporting, so that it's not going to overhead costs or salaries or different things going towards the people that support your organization. But within that same realm, letting people know how many people are on your team, how many people you've supported that year, really giving people by the numbers, letting people know how COVID has affected your nonprofit, your populations that you support. I think being transparent is something that, with a lot of distrust going on in the world outside of the nonprofit sphere, just in the turmoil that is 2020, being really clear about exactly what you're doing, exactly how you've been affected. Normally donation moments come after kind of a really heartwarming speech or highlighting a success story. So saying right after someone says how the organization has helped and impacted their lives, saying, and we have helped X amount of people just like so-and-so, this is what our financial situation looks like with COVID, this is how we've been affected, these are the projected number of people who need our services beyond what we're able to provide at this time. Really, people, I'm not a math person, but I am a data person in terms of saying that numbers are things that people can easily comprehend. Creating a nice infographic that will help you be able to show that transparency of exactly what you want, what exactly you've done, where you're at now, and what you're looking to do in the future with the funding that's going to come from your donors. So that's really transparency and just being really clear. That also goes into specificity. So also going on that same trend of numbers, I see donations skyrocket when you can put an exact action with a dollar amount. So what that means is saying, for example, one of the organizations I've worked with everything from hospitals and healthcare to schools and education to across the board, humane societies, art programs, every different kind of nonprofit you can think of. And when you are able to say your $200 donation covers an eye exam for 3 students at our school who will not have any other type of health care that year, that is something that's really impactful. That makes me want to donate $200. I know I'm impacting 3 lives. I know I'm covering something in totality, which is something that with that specificity, you have to do that after the transparency of exactly how many people you've helped and what your overhead might look like. Or you don't have to get into like, this is our rent costs and this is how much we pay people, but just saying, hey, this is covered, or we still have $10,000 to go in our overhead to have the people and support systems to take care of these populations, and then all the rest of the donations go straight towards the populations that we serve. So just being clear about that. I think people like to hear a story. People like to feel a connection rather than just saying, oh, I gave $100 to the American Cancer Society, saying I gave $100 and that covered a screening for 3 at-risk youth or 3, having that story, being able to say, $25 is going to cover a week's worth of, subsidized meals for a student, or I keep going back to, or it could cover the adoption fees for an elderly pet, or it could cover X, Y, and Z. It could provide a clothing option for someone who's going for a job interview. So just looking at the different ways that you can package your donation levels. So I often say having donation levels that are that range where you're going to have to know your audience. So if you know you have a couple $10,000 donors and you have somewhat of a thermometer, or you're watching a number grow and you have an audience watching that number grow with you, making sure that you wait for them to donate, or you can donate on their behalf if you already have the check in hand, and watch that thermometer jump, and starting your donation levels top to bottom, saying, hey, who can give $10,000? Then you can, if you know you have 2 people on hand, you can jump that thermometer really quickly, and then going down. And I think having a $100 level, a $50 level, a $25 level makes things really accessible. Also, going into engagement, a way that you can really emphasize some of your engagement is with doing something quippy with your organization. So if it's your 20th year, saying this is our 20th year, or you could do it, package it around the year 2020 and saying give your 20 towards our organization. You can also do things like for every $20 donation that you provide, you're entered into a raffle. And I think that this is really great if you're having a virtual fundraiser, because something that you can do is every single hour. So for this hour, every person that donates $20 is entered into a prize for that hour. So then you have re-engagement for every single hour that people might want to win a certain item, something donated by your community. I talked about how to source auction items, which also can go with any kind of raffle or prize item. So really trying to engage specifically with your organization and saying, hey, we're 75 years old, please give your 75, or we helped over 200 people this year, or we helped over 2,000 people this year. Please donate $20 to represent the people that we helped, or represent the number of people that you want to help the coming year. So that's another way, really having that engagement. If you're in person, I do want to touch on some in-person things. There's something called a runaround that I always see really successfully done, where if you have paddles and you have an auctioneer, the last person to raise their paddle and donate at the lowest level, which normally with a runaround it's $50 or $100. It's a little bit higher just because I've seen over 500 donations within a runaround when there's only 300 people in the room, and that's because people really want that fancy bottle of wine, that Amazon gift card, that whatever the item is. Normally it's a pricier item than an Amazon gift card, but some kind of unique experience or something that continuously engages your audience. And once they already know what you've done and how you're helping and what your plan is for the future, in as much transparency and specificity as possible of how their money can help your organization, then having a reason to really get involved and stay engaged with your organization. If you have any kind of club membership or something where you can provide, if you donate $500 per year, you receive, you're one of our members, or having any kind of, creating exclusivity is usually something that human nature gravitates toward. So creating engagement in whatever that looks like for you, whether that's going to be through a virtual event and creating almost a raffle-like system, through representing your year or something specific to your engagement and your organization, or creating some kind of club or some kind of system that really rewards returning donors and being able to rely on them, is really going to help increase your audience and the engagement with those donations and help them come back year after year. So like I said, this is really for nonprofits, but if you are maybe a restaurant that's helping to benefit an organization, just saying like, hey, I know 10% of their order is going towards this, but if 10% of their order is $5, can you tell me like, what does $5 do for your organization? What does, or if it's, any kind of extra tip on top of this, or anything that you can receive a number and you can say, hey, if you give this, this is what happens. That's really going to be a game changer, because like I said, that storytelling, that personal connection is going to help people feel that humanity and not get any kind of, oh, I'm just donating to an anonymous group of people and I like what they're doing, but how much do I really know about them? How much do I know about how they help my community? So that's what I have for you today. If you have any questions or specific scenarios around donations, or maybe your event or an organization that's close to your heart is having trouble really engaging with their audience, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to help, especially in the nonprofit space, but everything from school auctions and leading up to corporate events, I'm happy to help across the board, and I really enjoy bringing people together and benefiting anything in our community, and any kind of bright spot that we can bring to 2020 is always a win in my book. So that is all that I have for you today, and until next time, enjoy celebrating today.